crispy.
What's up, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Figures in Action. And today I bring to you another dojo. So I have my boy Shang-Chi Master Kung Fu here as a model and for size reference. So I was contacted, actually this is pretty cool, I was contacted by somebody who lives in Malaysia, and they were interested in getting a diorama for me, and they specifically wanted a dojo to fit into an IKEA Detolf. So contacted me, we figured out all the details in terms of cost or what his budget was and shipping and all that good stuff. One of the most difficult things about shipping out of the country is that usually like for example, when I've shipped to Australia, it's usually cost $45-50. So bigger dials are usually going to be closer to the $40 range. Smaller ones are probably going to be a little less, but not much less. I mean, it's international. It's so a lot of that comes into play in terms of what the factor is for, or how you factor in the cost and so forth. So I didn't necessarily have an exact shipping charge, but he wanted to kind of just include that and go through that process. So I estimated $40 as shipping cost, and hopefully that will be the shipping. But the agreement is that if it is more, it's up to him to pay the difference, which is fine. All right, so let's get into this real quick. First and foremost, as always, I am not prepared with a ruler. So let me just grab a yardstick that I have here so we can get an idea on size. All right. So going across, this dial is 14 inches long. It is the customary 11-12 inches deep and about 13 and a half inches, excuse me, I should point it up, 13 and a half inches tall. So anytime you're working on a diorama that's set up for a Detolf, if you guys don't know what Detolfs are, this is a Detolf. Let me turn on the light. So this is a Detolf. So this is a standard unit that people use to display their action figures. So this particular diorama will fit right on the shelf of a Detolf. It'll have maybe about an inch from the top, and it'll be an inch each from the sides, and maybe an inch or two in front of it. So it fits really good. There's some, you can maneuver it a little bit, so it's not kind of crammed into the IKEA Detolf. And these units are 4 shelves, and they go for about $65, $60. Not a bad deal and pretty durable, as I've experienced someone throwing something at me that missed, hit this, and the other, what they threw shattered, not this. Crazy. So these are pretty strong, glass tempered, so if they do break, they'll break into a million pieces, so no one will get cut. So let me go through this real quick, take out Shang-Chi and just give you guys an idea. So first and foremost, insulation foam board, magnetized. Couple different materials I've never worked with before. One of the things about being an artist and just creating dioramas is that you should never be comfortable with with what you normally use. Always look to expand, get better materials, easier to use materials that look better at the end of the day. It's always a good idea to just kind of not get comfortable in what you're doing. So I was at, in this particular case, it was one of those situations where it just kind of worked out that way. I generally do look for new materials, but in this case I was at AC Moore. They're going out of business, so they're, at one point it was like 40% off of everything. Yesterday I went, it's like 80%. I got a whole bunch of balsa wood yesterday. I ended up spending $17 and I saved 60, which was great. So 3 weeks ago, I was at AC Moore just getting stuff on sale. And so this is actually not paper. This is like a cloth material, to be honest with you. And I saw it, and actually it's kind of interesting because it came in, versus it just being kind of loose, it kind of came in one of these plastic holders or whatever. So just to keep it clean, just because it is a material, so any little smudge, if my hands are dirty and I smudge against the material here, it is going to get dirty. So to the person who's going to be receiving this, please keep that in mind. Whenever you deal with this diorama. Wash your hands, just because again, if you have any kind of paint or any smudge, like you will literally stain it, and there's no way to clean this. I don't think. I mean, unless you use fabric cleaners, but then that would be something new and somewhat risky, as I've never tried it. So this is kind of that cloth material. It was a little tricky because when you cut cloth, you have to have the sharpest of sharp tools, and usually it's these really sharp scissors, but I don't have that expertise to cut stuff in scissors really straight, so I use an X-Acto blade, a new one, and it did pretty good. But as you can see here, right, that's a good example of how, oh my god, come on, focus. You can see right there in the middle of the, right there, where just it, you know, the cloth itself just kind of gets a little tattered, I guess. But you know, it's high enough where it's not going to kind of affect the shot. You know, a lot of shots are going to be at this angle and so forth. So that was a really cool material to use. This was also kind of a sheet as well, so I used this sheet. This is just artist tape, and what I did with artist tape, because it is a paper based tape, I do have an electrical tape, but I think it would have looked too shiny for this, so it's kind of a paper based tape. So what I generally do is some of them I will put hot glue underneath the whole strip, and then some of them I'll just put it at the tip, or excuse me, at the corners rather, instead of the whole thing. So I think I did the whole thing, just the tip, or corner, and the whole thing both ways. Again, the idea being that over time, some of this tape could kind of flip up, but generally speaking, because of the Modge Podge I put on the floor, it should seal in pretty tight, especially with the backup glue gun. So that was that. This is just balsa wood, balsa wood. So when you're working with dials, I mean, my first, I think one of my first dojos, I did a lot of it with a skinny foam board, which is not a great material to use for something that's as precise as a dojo. So I learned from that, and pretty much any trimmings are going forward with dojos are going to be wood based. It just looks better. It's sharper. This is that mesh that I've used a bunch of times. It's actually this contraption to kind of dry clothes. It's the weirdest little contraption. I got it at a dollar store when I used to live in Lawrence. So that's that. And then there's not vellum paper on the back, but it's that hard plastic sheet that I got from this dude named Miguel, who has sent me a bunch of sheets. So I used it, and I think it's perfect. The vellum paper at times, especially when it's a bigger area to cover, heat and cold will make it wrinkle a little bit. So in this particular case, I wanted this I guess window to be flush up against the frame. So I used that plastic paper, and like I can feel it. Just doing that, I can feel it on my nail on the other side. So it's nice and tight, and that worked out. Versus the vellum paper, again, you can use it, but I would rather use it in smaller spaces as it wrinkles less. What else do we have here? Then we have, I just added this piece. I just think it's a good cool little piece to have. It's just, you know, a piece of wood, but just to kind of give it a little more style, and just kind of set up this little frame system here so it just falls into place. But it is fully magnetized. Just take it apart and magnetize there and in the back wall. And the other part is that because this was a little bit of a challenge. So the last dojo that I created was for a Detolf, but his budget was a lot higher than the budget for this one. So I was able to create some windows on this side and hook it up, because again, it's a Detolf, so you're gonna get glass all around you. The only thing that's not gonna show up is probably the back. So you gotta make sure that you do in fact take into account the sides. So what I did here is, again, because the budget wasn't as high, I couldn't do windows and some of the things I might have done differently. But instead what I did is I took some balsa wood. This is just kind of the flatter, bigger pieces of balsa wood. Balsa wood comes in everything. Well, this is not balsa wood. This is specifically birch plywood, which is a little more expensive, but again, I got it super cheap. But balsa wood does come in this shape, really long. So what I did is I bought one yesterday, cut it in half, and just use kind of wood here. One of the reasons I wanted to do that is because this little corner here was kind of that was bothering me, so I wanted to kind of seal it. So what I did, I was able to seal that by just using wood here and just painted this. so that when you see the side of it, nothing super fancy, but you're gonna get something, some color blocking. You're gonna get something that looks decent versus, you know, getting something that's, you know, not as. Y'all, so that's pretty much it. But yeah, magnetize it's here, here, back wall, boom, and that's what you have when you are done. You also check out the pictures at the end, and if you guys have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section, and I will get back to everybody as soon as possible. It is Thursday, the weekend's upon us. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I will see you guys next week. I have a couple tutorials I have in mind, and I'll share that information next week. And I'm out.